Right, everyone, welcome to our very first formal council meeting on the 12th of November 2025. I think this is a really great place to be, and I've enjoyed making sure that everyone's really comfortable working in this space. This meeting is recorded and is broadcast live on YouTube for our community to be part of the discussions that we're having today. We have a quorum, which is fantastic, and I will open the meeting with karakia. Whakataka taho ki te uru, whakataka taho ki te tonga, kia mā kena ki uta, kia mā tara ki tai. E he aki ana te atakura, he tio, he huka, he hohu, tihe, Māori ora. If we could all just stand for the council affirmation, please. Let us affirm today that we as councillors will work together to serve the citizens of the Selwyn District, to always use our gifts of understanding, courage, common sense, wisdom and integrity in all of our discussions, dealings and decisions, so that we may solve problems effectively. May we always recognise each other's values and opinions, be fair-minded and ready to listen to each other's point of view. In our dealings with each other, let us always be open to the truth of others and ready to seek agreement, slow to take offence, and always prepared to forgive. May we always work to enhance the well-being of the Selwyn District Council and its communities. We will. I'd also like to note that with the council affirmation, we will, over the coming weeks, develop our own one that is new for us as a new council. I will call for any apologies. Everyone being present, there are none. I will call for any identification of any extraordinary business. I do have one item, and the Chief Executive has indicated a late report or late paper to her report, and that is on the fast track amendment bill. And so there's only been 5 days for us to submit on that, and so there is a late report coming that staff will talk to in the Chief Executive's report. Is there any other extraordinary business? There being none. Conflicts of interest. At this point, and this is our first council meeting, I note that some councillors have filled out a conflict of interest register, and we still have some questions around that. So what I just call for is if anyone has any conflicts of interest in the papers that we have today, they can identify. No conflicts of interest, fantastic. Public forum, there being none. We will move straight into confirmation of minutes. And so these are the minutes from our meeting, so our inaugural meeting on the 29th of October. I ask for a mover that they be a true and accurate record. Sarah, and a seconder, Tracy. Is there any discussion on the minutes? No discussion. My only comment was that point B under the appointment to the audit and risk was Tracy McLeod's name is incorrect. So we could just correct that as a minor amendment. Cool. All those in favour of the minutes, please say aye. Aye. Against? Call it carried. I will move on to my report. And this being my first report, I put quite a lot of thought into this, into how much information does everybody want from me. So I'm happy to take feedback on this, but effectively I want to give you an overview of what I've been doing and what has been happening for us in the district, and also the people that I've been meeting with, so that you're aware of what is happening, and especially I think that leans into our advocacy space as well. Effectively, as everyone's had the paper, I will take most of it as read, but happy to take questions on it as well. So I think going forward from this, I look forward to our extra days that we've agreed to put aside for some team building and how we work. And I'm really proud of the induction that has happened over the past weeks and the information that has been fronted by staff to give us a really good foundation of what is happening in the organisation as we work into annual plan time. And yeah, I'm happy to move my report. Is there a seconder for that? Sophie? And happy to take questions.
I do have one question. Thank you very much. It's really good to get lots of detail. There's one line in Mayor's School that mentions around LGNZ looking for new leaders. And I just thought I'd ask, are you looking to nominate yourself for any of the sectors or anything like that?
No, I'm not. Look,
it was worth the question.
I've been pretty clear that my focus is here in Selwyn and for Selwyn, so that is where I want to be. And saying that, I am going to LGNZ up tomorrow to Wellington to vote on who has been elected to National Council and for rural and provincial. So, yeah, that is where I'll be tomorrow. I think, it's really good to give LGNZ a chance to reform. They've indicated that they want to change the way they work, and so I'm open to that. And the first step in that is to putting the right people onto National Council in that space.
I just wanted some clarity around that voting that you're doing. Does that not come back to council? So we determine at council who we want to support as a council. Does it just come down to the mayors choosing who they want?
Yeah, it will at this stage. So for some of the appointments, there has only been one person put their name forward, and so that's Zone 5, so Dan Gordon has secured that role. There is rural and provincial, so there's been no nominations at this stage, so it'll be called from the floor. So we can't really bring that back for endorsement, and I guess you have to put some faith in me to make some good choice.
Right, okay.
Cool. Is there any other questions on Mayor's report? No? Cool. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Carried. We will now move on to the Chief Executive's report.
Thanks, Lydia. Can I invite Jeff and Emma up to the top table, please? Councillors, with regards to the public forum, when there is a public forum, the Mayor usually asks CE to take away the issue that was brought. We connect in with the individuals, and we use the CE's report as by way of giving feedback as to where we have landed and arrived with regards to the position. So those safe speeds for Selwyn and Dogwatch were from the previous council. If at public forum there is required for to be a decision made following investigation, we will always bring back a separate paper rather than wrapping something up as part of a CE report. In terms of, just want to note that the local government elections for 2025, the voter turnout for Selwyn was 47.94 against the national average of 39.4%. I think this has been the highest participation in 25 years in our district. And I'd like to thank all of the council staff involved in terms of the work that they have undertaken with regards to supporting, enabling our community to vote too. The Lincoln Town Centre upgrade is reflecting in the past the site blessing, which a number of you were able to attend. And it's a long-awaited step in the right direction with regards to the project. And the fire safety partnership and summer preparedness, this is a reflection of the strategic relationship that Selwyn has with KiwiRail, and we look forward to KiwiRail coming and talking to you in more detail. We have a signed memorandum of understanding with KiwiRail to have that strategic partnership, and this is one of the items that has actually fallen out of that, is that joined up thinking around how we manage fires through the fire season. And finally, obviously, to welcome and delighted to have my new council. So from myself and ELT, welcome. As Lydia indicated, the additional paper, so I gave notice last week of the intent to circulate a starter for 10 to councillors for you to have your input into. So last Friday, the Fast Tracks Approvals Amendment Bill dropped into our inboxes. We've got 5 working days to turn it round, which is really tight time frame. So thank you very much to Jeff and Emma, who've done a fantastic job, and Jack, who isn't here today, to have been able to pull together some background. So we circulated this to you online. I lost track of days. Last night, yes. And so we do appreciate and acknowledge that you may not have had a chance to look. So what we tried to do was share with you the previous submission that had been made, an overview of what this submission was about, and then what we have given you is a starter for 10. So please don't take it that the work that Jeff and Emma have done is, here's the submission. It's just that we wanted to give you some bones and a framework to give us some guidance on. Now, we're looking forward to getting your thoughts and discussions today to help finalise, knowing that we've got a short week and that Friday is a public holiday. We do have a very short time frame now to take your information on board. Perhaps what we would ask is that, depending on how the conversation goes, that council consider nominating either the mayor to have final sign off once everybody's feedback has been wrapped, so that if the mayor is satisfied, she can approve and we could submit it, and then we will circulate it to you in retrospect, because it's quite hard to circulate to everybody and get everybody's feedback when we've got such tight timeframes. But council, you will decide if that's the way forward. So I'm going to hand over to Jeff and Emma to take us through. Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon. I'd just like to introduce you to Jeff Duvall. Jeff's our policy team lead. He looks after the team that deals with the district plan and anything kind of in this space where the council might like to be making a submission on a resource management type topic. And he's done all of the work that was circulated to you last night, so kia ora for that. And so he's just going to take you through the key points, and then we can sort of record your feedback for incorporation into the submission.
Thank you, Emma. Kia ora koutou, Mayor and councillors. So in the memo that has been circulated, which you may or may not have read, there is some sort of key highlights from the bill that set out there. I'll just go through those briefly. There's some changes to allow applicants to amend the scope of what's listed in the legislation for their application, and seek approval from the Minister to do that. And then also there's the ability for them to make similar changes to the scope of their application when the application is in process. There's some changes that limit the discretion of panels as to who they'll seek comments from on applications, and that's as you might see in section 53, they've linked that to consideration of whether the local authorities will be providing comment, or the extent to which they're providing comment on the application, and with that knowledge they'll make decisions on whether they need to invite comment from any other party. There's some time limits being placed on parts of the process where there doesn't, there's no time frame set at the moment. And again, significantly for the council, there's some changes to pre-application consultation requirements that are set in the legislation. So presently it's not very well defined. It just says to consult local authorities before an application is made, and they're changing that to notifying the local authority before an application is made. Again, I don't think they've, I guess they're setting a minimum expectation there, but they haven't really, well, it's fairly poorly defined still what's expected there. So that might be a point to cover off in a submission as well. So the draft submission at this stage, as As has been said, it's very draft, and there's opportunity to input any further comments into that, or remove any of the points that have been included in there. I did include a point around the timeframes and the risk that capping the timeframes at 60 working days to making a decision, like the risk that there's a rushed process and there's some consequence of that. But yeah, I'm open to including that or removing it or any other content. So I'll leave it with that.
Cool, very good. I will go to questions from councillors, and so John, we have you up first.
Thank you. Just to refer back, I believe the election turnout for the Tawera Melbourne ward was close to 60%, which was good. I'm parochial. Now, thank you. Now, just in relation to your point number 12 about the development where the infrastructure may not be in place, is it worthwhile making the point a little stronger, in my view, that where this occurs, there should be the option for the developer to make an agreed contribution?
Yes, and I was just going to make the point that this issue has come up in a previous fast track consenting application where a developer proposed a development that was devoid of servicing arrangements and transport connections, and it was heading down the pathway of client, and they subsequently withdrew the application. So I think here they are suggesting a new clause that it gives panels the ability to impose conditions that that require infrastructure to be in place or planned, and it might compel applicants to have an agreement with the council to fund that or whatever it might be to get that infrastructure upgrade brought forward where it's not planned at this stage. But yeah, I don't know if you can suggest some stronger wording, but I can give it a go in drafting that. Yeah.
Cool, thank you, John. Tracy.
Just endorsing what John's saying is that I understand the parameters of submissions and stuff like that, but I think it's important that as a council we use the opportunities that we get, few and far between, to express how things might best run for us. And for me, within the context of fast track, suggesting some kind of quid quo pro between the granting by central government of fast track approval and a recognition that that is putting unfettered, unplanned burden onto a particular council and their ratepayers. That, I think, is worthy of mentioning in an effort at least to keep them aware that we are suffering pain for some of these decisions and that it's one-way traffic financially and burden-wise. Obviously, you wouldn't word it how I have just said, but that's me endorsing what John said. The other thing I was just going to say for clarification, you're saying they've changed it from consult to notify, and I think it's clearly going to be important for our planners and others to at least stress and ask for a better definition of notify, because if I was to delve into my past life, I would say that consult has a much broader meaning than notify, that notify is telling you that this is what we're doing, whereas consult makes it sound like there might be a little bit of a discussion. And I wonder if that is certainly an area where we really would like more clarity.
I agree. I think, seeking a better definition of notify, and I guess what that means, does the applicant have to provide all the documentation and what time frame out from lodging their application? Do they do that acknowledging that they are specifying a 20 working day time frame for a council or the like to provide feedback. But it's a bit loose at the moment the way it's worded, so I think they could give a bit more definition to all of that.
Thanks, Tracy. Aaron?
Back on point 12, just to reinforce what John and Tracy have already said, perhaps the word particular could be changed to major. I think it is a major concern for this council that subdivisions are being coming our way without us not knowing about it. And this might be out of scope, but earlier today we talked about fast-track applications being approved, but they're not being acted upon by the applicant. Are we able to suggest that there should be some time limit placed upon that they are able to action that, otherwise it lapses?
There is a standard approach
is
to
already, okay, thank
lapsing
you.
of consents, yeah. I was going to make the point about the both the consultation but also the developer agreements. I guess that links back to consultation. I've made the point in the memo that it's within the interests of the applicant to make those sorts of approaches to councils and ensure they've got the information or the servicing arrangements in place as not good practice and not good for them if they're having to deal with issues through this time-constrained process, and trying to cut deals with councils on how they're going to approach those sort of things in the future, and just relying on consent conditions to compel one or the other to move. It's not a good way to operate. So having the minimum consultation requirements set in the legislation, but the reality is that the applicants are more than likely to come to the council and consult and get those arrangements in place.
Can I just add there, under the previous fast-track legislation, the COVID fast-track legislation, we approved, the EPA approved a number of developments around Rolleston in particular. I think there was the retirement village in Lincoln as well. And that's certainly the practice that we've seen from those applicants. They're very keen to engage with the council up front to really narrow the issues, because obviously with the fast track process, it's designed to be fast. So if there are snags, you've got limited time to sort them out. And the other thing is there's very high cost of entry. I think the deposit with the EPA, it runs to several $100,000. So, there's good incentive for participants in that process to come in and talk to the council and iron out as many issues as possible before it's kind of hitting the panel.
Cool. Sophie?
Yeah, kia ora team. Apologies for my rather long email earlier today. But yeah, there's... I'm not going to pretend that I wasn't concerned about the original Fast Track Approvals Act, and this one is kind of further restricting council input, community input, cost recovery potentially. And I'm quite worried as well. I mean, it's nice that they've put in the section around infrastructure, conditions around having the right infrastructure, but it seems to be angled towards council-provided infrastructure and forgetting about schools and health and stuff, which we already have, these ongoing conversations about trying to keep up with it. But yeah, so you've got my comments there. I guess one thing is it would be lovely if we could see an updated draft, if there is one available sometime tomorrow. But I'm happy to move that the mayor be able to sign off on whatever the final version is, because the deadline is like 5 o'clock on Sunday. Monday. Okay, so we've got until Monday. That's good. But still, yeah, happy to move for you to sign it off because somebody has to.
Okay. Thank you, Sophie. Is there a seconder for Sophie's? Sarah? All those in favour of the mayor signing off the final proposal? Say aye. Against? Well, that carries. We'll keep moving on. I think Elizabeth's got some more input on this as well.
Hi, thank you. I'm unaware of the changes that have been made entirely to the Fast Track Amendments Bill, but obviously under residential development, is there enough guardrails as part of the legislation so that future development must consider the environmental risks that require future adaptation/mitigation measures, e.g. building on areas of floodplains that require remediation to such developments, that they do not impose on increased flood risk to other existing properties, or that we're building them in the wrong place in the first instance? Because I think that's clearly one of the biggest issues we see coming onto council, is the fact that those provisions are not currently given to council to be able to mitigate that at our end. So do you feel that that's something that needs to be incorporated into the draft, or are they already covered and future-proofed in the existing bill?
Yeah, to be honest, it's not something that I've considered. It's not a change that they're making or proposing in this bill, but I can give it some consideration, do some research, and yeah, have a look at whether it's something that we could add to a submission.
Yeah, I think maybe what you're talking to there is just decision-making criteria for the EPA. So my understanding is that the Fast Track Approvals Act, in its purpose, it's to consent infrastructure or development that is regionally or nationally beneficial, and the decision-making criteria almost gives that primacy. But all the usual considerations under the RMA that the council would consider in issuing a resource consent are still considerations. So if there was a major flood risk, then the mitigation of that, or in the extreme, the decline of the consent because it can't be mitigated, is still on the table for the EPA to consider, or for the panel.
I just wonder if we need to ensure that that is strengthened, our voice is strengthened on this, because we've obviously got a lot of those pressing concerns in the district. Thank you.
Cool. Look, I think from what I'm gathering, this is really important for us to feed our thoughts into. So for councillors who have additional thoughts, if they could circulate those to Sharon by, is it midday tomorrow, be the latest that you need those by to try and pull that all together?
Yes, that's fine, and I can circulate a more complete draft.
Yeah, that'd be
around that
wonderful.
time.
So if we circulate a completed draft, once you've got that pulled together, then councillors can have full oversight into what that draft looks like. And I'll sign that off if we're happy with that on Monday. And then the submission will actually come to the next council meeting for a retrospective endorsement, just to make sure that we are really happy with that. If it turns out that you're not, you can always pull the submission at that later date. Is there anything else more from your report you'd like to talk about?
No, thank you.
Has anyone else got any more questions on the Chief Executive's report? There being none, I will ask for a mover to accept the Chief Executive's report for information. Sophie, is there a seconder? Sarah? Is there any more discussion? No. I will go to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Wonderful. So we will move on to the councillor remuneration and allowances paper. Let's wait for the team to come up. And so this paper confirms our remuneration for councillors. So there is a pool of funding, and you decide how you would like to split that up. I will hand over, as the paper is from the Chief Executive, to herself and her team.
Thank you. Welcome to Steve Gibbling, Executive Director. Welcome back. And to Dominique, who's acting Head of Legal. So I'm going to hand over to you to talk through the paper, please.
Thank you, Sharon. Councillors, Mayor, good afternoon. This is one of two procedural papers that you're receiving today, and the first paper is around the remuneration and allowances. We're going to deal with recommendations, primarily D, E and F, and that is looking at making sure that you can have a chance to inform the remuneration process around how you're going to be remunerated through your triennium. It's getting your approval on the allocation of the pool, which we've got some options in, and Dom will talk to the details of that, and also then looking to approve the allowances, which is attached as Appendix A. So I'm going to pass over to Dom now just to touch on a couple of the procedural and options.
Good afternoon, Council. So look, I'll start talking to the remuneration pool. We'll take the paper and the guidance around how this allocation works as read, but note that what we've done today is present to you 3 options for consideration as to how this pool can be allocated. Next steps after that vote is taken is that we will need to take that to the Remuneration Authority. They have a final decision that they make. If they accept the proposal, they will then notify the government's drafters. They will then put that into an updated determination that's available online, after which that is then the fixed remuneration. So we've presented in terms of remuneration 3 options. The first option is that there is a base rate fixed for all councillors, and then there is an additional allowance that acknowledges the further responsibilities of the Deputy Mayor and the Chair of Finance and Performance. The second option is consistent with what has the previous council operated under, which was just an additional allowance for the Deputy Mayor. And then the third option presented is a no differential amongst the councillors, regardless of the additional responsibilities and offices that they might hold. And I will briefly at this point also talk to the policy, unless people wanted to talk to this. Yep, we'll do both and then come back. So what we have also presented to you is an updated allowances policy. So this is the reimbursement policy available to elected members. We will note that there has been a slight error in terms of the front of our report in terms of the vehicle remuneration allowance. So for travel costs associated, it doesn't change the policy. But in short, what we do is we haven't quite noted all of the eligible allowances under the determination. So for absolute clarity, vehicle kilometre allowances would be payable and available to members for all types of vehicles. So that's petrol, diesel, petrol hybrid and electric. So those are all covered. There's no change required to the policy to implement this, but we did want to note it for clarity. The other question we have received previously is how long elected members actually have to claim their reimbursements. There is a connected policy that we have here, but apologies, we didn't note it as a related policy. So we have a reimbursement policy, and what we would propose to do if councillors are willing to revoke and adopt the policy is also link this one to this. This gives you 3 months from date of incurring the expense, which is the policy as it stands now, to actually claim those reimbursements. The final thing we'll note with the updated policy is that it does create a process for claiming security costs. That is to facilitate something that didn't exist last financial year and that the Remuneration Authority has made available.
I just want to add, of course, councillors have the opportunity of picking their own options in terms of remuneration pool too. The options, 3 options that were put up was just as guidelines. So,
wonderful. Thanks, Tom. I think for absolute clarity over the policy that you have here, I think linking in relatable policy is good. I think it just gives everybody a good understanding of what is going on there. I will ask for any questions on what we have in front of us. And so, John, I have you up first.
Yep.
Good.
Thank you. Just in relation to the vehicle kilometre allowance, I note the point that you made. The second repetition of the third bullet point, petrol or diesel, should that read electric?
So they're actually, they operate each separately and independently. Apologies, I can circulate for the purposes of the minutes the provision and the determination. But yes, it should have been For petrol vehicles, $1.17 for the first 14,000 and then 37 cents for the following. For diesel, it is $1.26 for the first 14,000 kilometres, 35 cents after that. For petrol hybrid, it's 86 cents per kilometre for the first 14,000, 21 after that, and for electric vehicles, it's $1.08 for the first 14,000 and then 19 cents after that.
Thank you. And then, was there an option 4 in relation to the remuneration?
So, look, the table is, if there's no more questions on the paper at hand or the policy that we have there, I'll note, I think in the policy, what you've done well is it just says as determined by the Remuneration Authority, and they have all that information available online. So whether it's possible to link that in to the policy, I think makes it clear for everybody, because it is an updating, changing dollar amount at times. And so I think that makes it really clear. Councillors, you are most welcome. There being no more questions. If somebody wants to propose something that is different than 3 options within this paper, now would be your time to do so. So I can go back to John.
Thank you. yeah. Proposing option 4, that the Deputy Mayor be remunerated at $86,513, a 17.5% increase. The Chair, and you can fill in the name of the committee, the performance, etc., be remunerated at $79,150, a increase of 7.5%, and councillors 73,628.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so look, we're very comfortable that actually that's just a variation on option 1 with alternate numbers, and so that's absolutely for council. If that's the decision that they'd like to put forward, they can absolutely do that, and we're happy with that.
Dom, just asking, does the resolution, is it cleaner if we propose the new addition or just the option 1?
I think that's absolutely fine if you want to propose it as an option 1. It's an option 4, beg your pardon.
Wonderful. I think that we continue on with option 4. It makes it a lot cleaner for everybody across the board for the resolution. And so is there a seconder for an option 4, which is Elizabeth? Is there any discussion on the option that has been put forward? So now is the time if you would like to discuss for or against. And John, being the mover of the resolution, can go first into that.
No, look, I think it's fair. And just taking out of option 1, the second B under officers note that this option recognises, and I'm being careful to look at the position, not the person, that my recollection is that the duties of the Deputy Mayor are slightly more than just standing in when the Mayor's unable to. And I wonder whether from our previous meeting last week, and I don't have the words, somebody could just put in those extra few words so that it's clear that when we've reached the new rate for the Deputy Mayor, that it was on the basis that the Deputy Mayor for the term of the 13 months would be with a few extra duties than has been in the past or traditional.
I think, John, are you wanting this information noted in the resolution or just in the minutes of the discussion that we're having here today?
I'm happy to have it just in the discussion. Makes it easier, I think, Madam.
Yeah, great. Look, I agree. I think it's pretty standard across the board that the Deputy Mayor, and looking at the role, not the person, has extra responsibilities. And so that is making sure they're across the board of all the things that are going on. They're sitting in on meetings that I am involved in the case of having to hand over to that person, that they are aware of what is going on. They still have their normal councillor duties as well, and appointments to work with. So I think... yeah, we can note there is extra responsibility there, and the same goes for the chair of the Finance and Performance Committee. And in my view, is that we are looking at significant I guess, changes to the way that we operate in this business around finance and performance, and there is a big body of work there to be done and handed to that person. So it is having faith in that person to deliver that, but remunerating them for their extra work as well that they are doing. Elizabeth, you have the second speaking rights as a seconder. You're good. Is there anyone else that would like to discuss this paper? There being none, I will put it to the vote. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? Call it carried. Thank you, everybody. We will now move to appointment to committees and other bodies.
So the next procedural paper, which is probably a little bit, we'll work through each of these groups. The team in the report have pulled together what is essentially the terms of reference or a summary of the requirements for each of those groups. There's about 20 odd appointments and a couple of nominations. But if we work through each of the recommendations, and just noting that once we've gone through this and we've appointed, and our recommendation is you appoint people today, given that the work doesn't slow down or stop with these agencies or groups. And then the action from here will be that the Chief Executive and her team will then write and communicate to each of these groups, confirming the appointment from Selwyn District Council. Chair, would you like to work through each one?
Yeah, we can do that
individually.
Yeah, we can definitely work through that. So the first one there is A, which appoints 4 councillors to the Community Funding Assessment Panel. And this is something that, looking through the terms of reference, when trying to, I guess we divide this up into fair and equal across everybody, has been a slight glitch for us in how our representation works now. So the terms of reference for the Community Funding Assessment Panel indicates that it must be a councillor from each ward. And as we have changes to the structure of how we are represented, there is a bit of an issue there. I think what is the best thing to do for that funding panel is at their first meeting they may propose that they change their terms of reference to state councillors appointed to the panel, and then that would come back to council for endorsement. And then any changes could be made at that time. But in the essence of noting that business doesn't stop and we have communities waiting for funding, especially it being December next month, for community functions, my recommendation is that we appoint now, and if we need to, changes can be made at a later date. Look, I've sort of tried to work through a bit of this as trying to be fair and equal across the board. And so if you're happy, I can propose some names and we can yes and no that, if that's okay with councillors. So in that, Community Funding Assessment Panel, I have Denise from the Springs Ward, Elizabeth from the Ellesmere Ward, John from the Melvin Ward, and Reese from the Rolleston Ward. Is everyone agreeable to those people that are appointed into that space? If it's okay for process, we'll run through and put names into this, and then I'll just ask for a mover of the whole lot, if that's okay, because there's a bit to get through. The next one that we have there is B, to appoint a councillor to the Sister City Committee. People have indicated some interest in some of these, and so my recommendation would be to appoint John into the Sister City Committee. I think it fits really well with the Melvin councillor role and working in close with the community board in that space as well. So that would be my recommendation. I'm happy to hear any others if people have. There being none, I will move on to the Youth Council, and this is where it gets. I guess it's hard across the board to appoint people into this role because we can't appoint everyone, and so there are 2 spaces into that role. My recommendation would be to appoint Denise and Reese into that space, but I'm happy if we need to debate that as well. They are happy? Wonderful. We will move next to D, which is appointing a councillor to the Canterbury Regional Landfill Joint Committee and the Canterbury Waste Joint Committee as well. So those two actually sit alongside each other and meet back to back. My proposal for that one would be Councillor Big Red into that space. I think business acumen is important when we are sitting on the directorship there. So if anyone else wants to talk about that, we can.
Is there an opportunity to have a second person appointed to something like that, or not?
Reference is only one, and that being a joint committee has other councils appointed to it. But yeah, it is just one appointed to that committee. Sophie?
Just to clarify, is that a directorship or a committee appointment? Because
Sorry.
we have a different policy for director appointments.
Yes, sorry. So, and that was probably some wording on my behalf, Sophie. This is an appointment to the committee. From the committee, anyone from that committee can apply for a directorship to Transwaste. So there is an opening there to Transwaste for that space. So that is for people from that committee to put their hand up and go through a full interview process with Transwaste for a directorship. Cool. Do we want to discuss that one anymore? No? We have Canterbury Sports Foundation. Councillor McLeod indicated an interest in this. I think that's well within her wheelhouse and her love for community and sport. So that would be my recommendation, that Tracy goes into that position. Cool. Next up, we have Central Plains Water Trust Joint Settler Committee. This is a committee that is jointly shared between Selwyn District Council and Christchurch City Council. So 2 councillors are appointed to make the committee from Selwyn and 2 come from Christchurch City Council. And so the recommendation there that is that Councillor Wilshire and Councillor Larriman are appointed to CPW Joint Settler Committee. Is there any discussion? All right. Next up, I have notes that the Mayor sits on the Civil Defence Joint Group Committee, and so that is across the board for all members on there that the Mayor sits into that space. Next up is an I, which is nominates a councillor for the trustee of the Coleridge Habitat Enhancement Trust. And for that one, I have Councillor Wilshire in there. Is there any discussion on Coleridge Habitat Trust? No. Next one there is the District Land Drainage Committee, and for those I propose that it be Sarah, Reese and Elizabeth on District Land Drainage. I think that gives a good representation across our district into that space. Is there any discussion on land drainage appointments? Reese?
Yeah. Is there 4 appointments or 3?
Well, my understanding is that it was 3. But I'm happy to take any advice from what I understand historically, it's always been 3.
It is
3. It is 3. I think, yeah, there was initially an error in the number there. But if it comes back any different, I will inform you as a group. Next up, we have...
I was just going to note that, in the past, other councillors have been able to attend that committee. That just means that there's not much that's voted on. It's mostly information and discussion. So there's nothing that stops anyone else who's interested from attending.
Yeah, absolutely. So they're points of interest. Anyone is available to attend.
I think the 4th is just noting that you're the ex officio, so that's probably where the 4 comes from.
I would think, yeah.
Yeah.
And so next up there we have the, oh yes, I have these around the other way. We have K, which is appoints a councillor to the Environment Canterbury Biodiversity Champions Group. And for that one there, I have Councillor McInnes. Is there any discussion on that? There being none. The next one there is appoints a councillor to the Environment Canterbury Climate Change Reference Group. And for that, I proposed that be Sarah. Yeah. Is there any discussion on that? There being none. The next one there is appoints the following members to the relevant Environment Canterbury Land Drainage / River Protection groups. And so just noting that there are the groups listed in the front there. I had appointed, or I recommend that Elizabeth go to the Rakaia, as that is part of her ward area of the Ellesmere ward. John is there as the Selwyn River as it starts in the Melvin ward at the very top there. I have Aaron in the Horswell, which has a close interest for him. And Samuel as Lake Ellesmere as an at-large councillor having a view of the district. So those would be my names I propose there. And sorry, I have Sarah into the Waimakariri group. Is there any discussion on the names there? There being none. The next one I have there is appointing councillors to the Greater Christchurch Partnership. So there are 2 vacancies in there as the Mayor sits on the Greater Christchurch Partnership in the first instance. So the names that I had proposed there was Sophie McInnes and Biggered Shepherd. Happy to have discussion on that one. And first up there I have Elizabeth.
Yeah, that's something that I would like to put my name forward for, because I feel that for the continuity that we've already been discussing this for the last 3 years and have a great understanding of it. And I think it's something that I would like to be able to continue with.
Okay. How do the other people feel that have been recommended there? Are you able to, can you turn that off so I can gauge some thoughts? Thank you. Sophie.
Yeah, I'm very keen to be on the Greater Christchurch Partnership. I've done plenty of work previously around that. I was a member in my first term and second term. I was part of the Housing Champions group, and there's a lot of ongoing work there that I'd like to continue with, and I think I can add value and support you, to be honest, at that table there. It is worth having somebody who hasn't been on the partnership before as well, which is good. I guess there's the question of who, but I would very much like to go back there because, because I've been part of some of the business cases there since before you were on it last term as well, so there's a lot going on. Cheers.
Cool. Red. Agreed.
Just with just involvement with development and the bigger picture of all the regions. Really, I want to be part of that. That's just deep there with knowledge in the background of what's been happening over the years.
Cool. Do you want to just chuck your thing off, mate? Okay, so I guess with this, there's a couple of options that we can do here. Oh, sorry, Tracy. Go.
What are its terms of reference?
So
what does it do? What is the value that we're wanting to get out of it?
What's a Fantastic question, Tracy. And I sat on the Greater Christchurch Partnership last triennium, and I was the fresh eyes that went into that space. And historically, there has been a lot of great stuff that has been developed and come out of that space around spatial plans, public transport. There's a joint housing action plan at the moment. What happened at the end of the triennium is we've actually done a review, and so we have all been interviewed, or the past members have all been interviewed on their thoughts and what the GCP should do going forward. That has been summarised, but at our last meeting we decided actually it's not for us as the outgoing members of that committee to make the decision on what we do going forward, and so that will be one of the first things that the new committee does, is actually go, what is our why and our purpose, and what do we want to get out of this relationship. I think that there is great benefit in working with our neighbours in the Greater Christchurch area, especially if you wanted to start looking at any regional deals. But yeah, we're pretty open at the moment as to what we want to do and how we want to work, and what are our goals and actions from GCP. Tracy.
Steve, do you have any views on the Greater Christchurch Partnership and our involvement in it, and how it could benefit us in particular, just to help us to understand, so that if this three-way bun fight, just to help us to work out who would be the best people to go on to that, because it's obviously got an operational impact.
I'll pass to the boss first, and we've got the...
Yeah, so we can give it to the... Sharon can put some context in there too. So Sharon sits on that partnership as the chief executive, not at the table.
No,
but
that's fine, don't worry. I'm sure Steve would love to answer. Well, what I would say is that the Christchurch, the partnership group has pulled together an orientation pack for new members that gives a little bit of the history, the background and the intent. But, you know, the inception of the group was following the earthquakes. We are going through a review period. And I think that that's really important about making sure that the Greater Christchurch Partnership is fit for purpose for going into the future. And so I would say a key element is ability to be a change agent and to have a big strategic picture about what the direction of travel for GCP will be in context of central government reforms as are coming, particularly the RMA, and the spatial planning is a huge part of that. So that's about being able to understand the context of spatial planning is really important, and the builds and how that gives effect across the Greater Christchurch Partnership. So really change agent is going to be really important, being able to lead change, think strategically and bring it in the context of central government policy.
And I think you know, when I've sat at the table there, we are representing our council views. And that is the other thing, that if we have decisions to be made and what that looks like, it comes back to us as a council to represent those views as a united team. So, look, I think there's probably two options here. I think that we vote on it, and we can either do that at this table, or we can do a secret ballot where you write two names on a piece of paper and I come and collect. So I'm happy to get your thoughts on what that looks like for you all. So Red, can you...
Does the partnership probably gels a bit better now with some of the way growth's gone, like in the past? Christchurch didn't want to see Selwyn grow as quick as what it did, so it did face its challenges. I'm not too sure what Plan Change 14 for Christchurch City is going to look like with this. It should make it gel a little bit better than what it has in the past. That's all my thoughts on some of that was.
Yeah, and I think it's been hard, and that's what the spatial plan has done, has brought us together in that space. Sophie?
Yeah, I was just going to add that there is, I mean, in terms of the area covered by the Greater Christchurch Partnership, That, well, not that that has to be it, but in the past that's also been part of how we decided who our representatives were going to be, because it basically covered sort of, it covers West Melton, Rolleston, Lincoln, Prebbleton, and down round Taitapu. So we generally chose the reps who would be representing areas that actually are based in those areas. Just because it was to do with public transport and the spatial planning that connects directly into Christchurch and all that sort of stuff, and the network and the housing. Just adding that to the conversation.
John?
Yes, under normal circumstances, I would suggest that the 3 nominees vacate the room, but as we're live streamed, that seems a little bit pointless.
Yes.
So I would suggest a secret ballot.
Yeah, we cannot ask people to leave the room. They are entitled to be here, but it is up to you how you want to decide. Elizabeth, I just wondered, the other 2 have had a chance to speak a second time, so if you would like to say anything, you are most welcome to.
Yeah, the reason that I want to be on the GCP is because I believe that we need to be very future focused, and there's been quite a lot of sitting on just the way things that have been done, business as usual, and there's been some elements to the GCP's decisions in the past which they have been future focused, but they've been quite based on some idealism, and I feel that as a realist I've brought quite a lot to the table in this space. And I also have quite a lot of interest, so things like the train networks, emergency housing, affordable housing, the MDRS in the right place, those kind of things. And I think that I have been following this for a long time. It's a real passion of mine. I missed the opportunity in the last Trainium, and I've been really looking forward to the opportunity to be able to put my name forward this time around.
Very well. I think the best solution for all of us is that Therese will walk around, she will hand you a piece of paper, and if you could please write 2 names down on the piece of paper, it will then be collected. The votes will be counted, and then the papers will be destroyed.
Collect them in and you can count, Therese.
Thank you. Please bear with us while we count the votes. Okay, so the votes have been tallied by governance staff, and so The two successful in there is Councillor McInnes and Councillor Shepherd. So I'm sorry about, I'm sorry, Elizabeth. The votes will be destroyed as well. Moving on, we will go to point O, which nominates a councillor to the Orion Customer Advisory Panel, and for that I had down, or would recommend Elizabeth be part of that. Is there any discussion? There being none, I will move on to the next one, which is P, which appoints a councillor to the Pest Free Banks Peninsula Project Oversight Group. For that, I would recommend that be Aaron. Is there any discussion on that? There being none. The next one there would be to appoint a councillor to the Summit Road Protection Authority, and for that I would recommend Sarah. And the next one is the Summit Road Society, and so I see that the two go hand in glove together, so I would recommend that Sarah sit on that as well. Is there any discussion on those two? There being none. The other one is to appoint councillors to the Te Puna Community Liaison Committee, and the two people that I would recommend into that space would be Denise and Tracy. Is there any discussion on that? No. And the other one, I'd just like to note the appointment of ex-councillor Bob Mugford to the Animal Ethics Committee. So with animal ethics, it doesn't necessarily need to be an elected member. He indicated an interest in retaining that, and if everybody is agreeable, we could do that for this triennium, and then I think it needs to come back to an elected member. Any discussion on that? No. And just the last resolution there is to delegate to the Chief Executive the power to give notices as necessary to give effect to these resolutions. So there are lots of calendar appointments waiting to come out to you for your appointments. And so what that does is allows Chief Executive to contact and give over your details to be appointed to those committees. Is there any more discussion on the appointments that we have here in front of us from anybody? There being none, I will ask for a mover for all of the resolutions that are in your paper and on the screen in front of us. Tracy, and a seconder, Reese. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against? We'll call that carried. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with while we work through that. It is a fairly hefty list. Next paper up is a paper on a termination of licence to occupy for a reserve. I will hand over to Sharon and her team to present the paper.
I'm delighted to welcome Rob Allen, who's our Head of Acquisitions, Disposals and Leasing, and Rob will talk us through the paper. Thanks, Rob. Welcome.
Kia ora. Welcome new councillors, returning councillors and new mayor. Welcome aboard. This report seeks council approval to terminate the existing licence to occupy granted over Reserve 1529 Homebush Road, commonly known as Hewitt's Pit. The termination is proposed to enable the site's use as a designated spoil disposal area for water race maintenance activities. The licence, which commenced on the 1st of June 2024, is for a 5-year term and currently permits low-level intensity grazing at a nil rental. However, following an assessment by Council's water surface team, the reserve has been identified as the most suitable location for spoil management due to its proximity, condition and alignment with infrastructure needs. The recommendation to terminate the licence is made pursuant to Clause 18(1)(b) of the agreement, which allows Council to end the arrangement with 1 month's notice by resolution of Council. This action supports sustainable infrastructure management, minimises environmental impact by repurposing a formal gravel pit, and aligns with Council's strategic objectives under Waikirikiri Te Kua Future Selwyn and the Infrastructure Strategy 2024 to 2054. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Rob. I had asked a question on this paper when it had originally come up, was to say, is the landowner aware of this process and what is going on for them as being the leasee of this space? And the response, Rob, was a yes.
Yes, there has been some discussions with him, and he's quite supportive of the process, actually.
Yeah, wonderful. I'll hand over for questions on the paper. And so first up, I have Elizabeth.
2 quick questions, Rob. The first is in terms of the long grass that's surrounding it at the moment that's been grazed down, so will that be cost to council to have that cut regularly so it's not a fire risk? And the second question is, are the community aware of this change of purpose for this reserve, just so that we know that that it's not going to be a surprise to the local community and a backlash for councillors?
Maintenance of the pit until this arrangement and consent is in place will be Council's responsibility, so it will be undertaken. And the second point is there will be consultation as part of the resource consent application by Council.
Thank you, Rob. Next up is Tracy.
Hey, I don't have a problem with any of the report in terms of its substance. There's just a couple of comments that I would make going through it. Is to number 3B, declining approval would constrain the project's delivery and may increase operational costs and environmental risks. Then again, in the table on the following pages, without incurring excessive cost or land acquisition pressures. And then there's another one. It would be number 8, financial risk, continued use will increase transportation and handling costs. It might be useful in the future to actually quantify some of that for us so we can see.
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, Tracy. Next up is Reece.
Thank you very much. It became sort of a no-brainer after reading it, but I do just have one question, which was the fill that's going in there is race fill. Is that it? Is there any risk of contamination for the backfill that's going in there bar race fill?
According to our water races team, no, there isn't. It's constantly tested and it's basically dirt. The screening process takes out all of that. If there are any contaminants, then they deal with them before it's infilled.
Yeah, and that's great. But it is just fill from races. There's no other backfill going to be put
No, I
in
understand.
there
It's
from
just fill from races.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. My understanding, Rob, is the resource consent will cover the content of what is going into the pit.
Yes, it will.
Yeah,
yes.
Cool. Aaron.
Just wanted to clarify, up there it says the 5th of July 2025, yet the licence commenced the 1st of June 2024. Are there 2 different things we're talking about?
No, I think actually the licence was dated after it commenced.
Okay, cool. And the other question I had, how long will the project be using that site to deposit?
The consent that they're seeking, I think, is between 15 and 20 years.
Okay.
So that's a sort of time frame.
No, that's good. Makes my next question null and void. Thank you.
Great. John.
Yes, under history background, the final paragraph there, clause 18(1)(b), just as a backstop, if the resource consent isn't granted, what's the proposed course of action?
Well, we wouldn't terminate the licence at that stage. Hopefully we'll do it by agreement. This is just a backstop in case we do, so we can meet our timeframes and save the ratepayer money, but we wouldn't terminate the licence.
Thanks, John. Sophie?
Yeah, I would just like to support the motion for this. I'm happy to move it if nobody, I don't think anybody has yet.
Yeah.
Mainly because we actually need this consent. Otherwise, we have nowhere to put the spoil, and then we can't get the consent to continue maintaining our water race network, which causes a lot of problems in our rural areas. So this has been identified as the best place to put that rubbish for the next 15 to 20 years, mostly biological material. And yeah, I think it's worth just a swift go ahead.
Just by way of some background information, I understand that the cost of disposal is approximately $170 per tonne for organic material, and we basically extract about 1,000 tonnes a year. So we're talking quite a lot of money per year in savings, approximately 170,000, and that's without transport costs. So there's big savings for council.
Seems like a win-win to me. Sarah?
Yeah, I asked a couple of questions previously, Rob. Thank you for answering those. Just to let the room know, I just asked about increased traffic movements, how frequently trucks were going to be coming and going, which was assessed to be minor, and then in terms of the recovery of the site once the work had finished, just getting clarification on whether there was going to be any delay to being able to just resume normal activities, and it sounded like it was very low risk, so yeah, happy to support it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Samuel?
Happy to second it. Sounds like a great idea.
Great. I think actually my only thing would be, is there the ability for the landowner to come in and graze it so that council doesn't have to maintain the grass?
Potentially, yes. It would be managed by a council contractor, and sometimes they can allow the adjacent landowner to graze off the areas where they're not infilled. So that's a discussion that our contractor will have with the adjacent landowner, who is currently the tenant.
Yes. So again, another good, simple, effective solution to maintenance. So look, with a mover and a seconder, I don't think there is any more discussion from anyone around the table on this paper. There being none, all those in favour please say aye. Aye. Against, call it carried. Thank you, Rob. The next item, I guess, is general business really, but there wasn't anything identified at the start of the meeting or any extraordinary. So at this point, we would move into public excluded. And so I ask for a resolution to exclude the public. Is there a mover for that? Sarah, and a seconder? Elizabeth? All those in favour of excluding the public, please say aye. Against? Call it carried. We will just give staff